Happy Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sharon Mundia, and welcome to Living with S. Today, we are at the beautiful 88 Nairobi, which is actually, we're in the showroom, and there are these beautifully fitted and furnished apartments. And my guest for the next hour is Joanne Tonui, who's the founder of Green Towns Initiative. That's GTI. Welcome, Joanne.
Thank you so much.
So, have you always been interested in greenery and had a green thumb and wanted to plant and to just see a greener space when you look around you?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
First of all, I think you need to help me because every plant I've brought into my house, I think every plant I've killed. And I remember one time just being like, oh, why do they always die? So I struggle so much with even though I love it and I love seeing it around me in my home, it's a completely different story.
Yeah, okay.
But so tell me a little bit about your childhood. How, where were you raised and were you surrounded by trees and greenery everywhere you looked?
Okay. One thing that not so many people know, or a few people know, is that the environment that you live in determines your health. Yeah, so if you have an environment that is surrounded by a lot of trees, or a clean environment that has less waste, or you're having quality water, you're taking quality water, your chances of getting sick is very low.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I was brought up in an environment which, where I come from, my home, Bomet, is full of trees. We have so many trees all over. But now the challenge of, having to access water, you have to go for a long distance to get water for drinking. So growing up while having that experience helped me to now do something that I want to have an environment that everyone can easily access water in all the seasons of the year. During the dry seasons, you have to go for a long distance to get water.
Like how long? Did you have to go fetch the water yourself?
Yes, when I was young, I had to go for a long distance to get
And how
to get
long
water.
would that be?
I can say about not less than 5 kilometers.
Wow.
Yes.
And would it be on a school day, or how would it affect?
Sometimes on a school day, or
Yeah.
in the morning, very early in the morning, so that you can get quality water. You have to go very early in the morning. Yes.
And sanitation and clean water is a big way to fight diseases. That's what plagues a lot, especially of developing countries, a lack of proper sanitation. You can see the direct relation to
Yes.
illnesses and even infant mortality, child mortality. First of all, it's beautiful that you were surrounded by trees growing up. And I'm trying to think about my childhood. Did we have trees? No, but I do remember though that Nairobi was very clearly known as, what was it called? The city in the sun, the green. What was the tagline for Nairobi? It was the green city in the sun?
Under the sun?
Under the sun or something like that.
under
But I
the sun.
remember it was clearly painted as this green,
A green city.
space.
Yeah, green space.
And then something happened and suddenly you couldn't see anything. There was just constructions and buildings and infrastructure. Did you kind of have that, experience when you were now coming into Nairobi and being like, wait a second, this looks nothing like Bomet. This looks nothing like the green that I am surrounded with.
Yes. I kind of had that feeling that now the construction is taking much of the private, the spaces or the free spaces in towns. That is why we are trying to increase the forest cover by planting trees in the spaces like in the rivers or in schools. That cumulatively increases the forest covers, not only in the cities but in the nearby communities.
Okay.
Yes.
And when you were going through school, say primary school, even high school, was there much conversation around, being able to make sure that everyone in the community had access to clean water and, afforestation? Was that conversation happening in school, or was that just something that was stirring within you?
I think it was something that was starting within me, first of all, because I've always wanted to create an environment where it's healthier for everyone to live in. And I believe in preventive measures of a disease more than curative measures of a disease. And one of the ways of preventing a disease is just having a healthier environment. So that was something that was within me ever since I was born. And now going to secondary school, I got more knowledge and skills on what can I do to, and science and all, what can I do to make sure that this is done in an easy way, which everyone can do it. That is just planting trees and taking care of our surroundings.
Right.
Yes.
So what did you take in uni? What subject? What
I
did you-
took public health.
public health.
Yes.
Again, to continue your interest in trying to just see that everyone's welfare
What
is
are the preventive
elevated.
ways of preventing an occurrence of a disease?
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me about GTI. I know it was birthed when you participated in Miss Environment Kenya in Bomet. Again, you can just see clearly it's in your core. Even the pageants you're competing in, it's like, what are we doing to
Yeah.
make our planet and to make our world better?
Yeah.
So how did you end up hearing about the Miss Environment?
About Miss Environment,
Kenya,
Kenya, I was in campus. That is when Miss Environment University was running at that time. So I wanted to participate, but my studies could not allow because it was too much of research on all that. So I said I'll just finish college and then I do the participate in Miss Environment, because I was so sure on what pageant I want to participate, which is Miss Environment or Miss Earth or anything that deals with environment.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, you were
Yeah,
so
yeah.
focused.
I was so focused. So in participating for Miss Environment, I was just asked, what do you want with the purpose of the title? I said I want to work with children in environmental conservation. Working with children, for me, I think it's not as much as it's very easy to work with children. It's also something. I mean, it's you can easily tell when a child has grasped that knowledge on environment, and they are able to take that knowledge through until when they are old enough, you know. So I took this activity or interventions on environmental to primary schools using my title Miss Environment just before I started registering Green Towns Initiative. So that now.
And so what exactly were you doing in the schools? Were you educating the children, or were you trying to get them to be, you know, physically involved in whether it was afforestation or, you know, planting, you know, or even just kind of bringing them into, say, the rivers and trying to get them more aware? Were you just informing or actually doing certain activities?
Basically, I was just informing. It was about creation of awareness.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Holding sessions, talking to the kids about all aspects that contributes to environmental conservation.
Okay. And
Yes.
what ages were the children?
Primary schools, all the way from standard 1 to standard 8.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So, and what was their response? Did you find that they, you know, had a keen interest, or I don't know. What was their response? I'm curious to know.
Kids have so much interest in learning new things in school. And as much as they have those environmental programs in their coursework or syllabus in school, they need like an attractive thing that makes them, that is interesting to them. So I was going to school with my friends, and we do something, an activity that is interesting to the kids, and they used to like it.
Yeah.
You find sometimes when you visit next, they have created a poem, an environmental poem. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So it clearly that there's that kind of interest, but I guess sometimes we forget to involve our children, even though that really that's who we're handing over the world to and leaving the world over to. But we think, oh no, let's fix the problem, and then the kids will pick it up at some point. But it's good to see that even in class 1, you're trying to have these conversations with them and trying to spark an interest in them quite early on. So how did GTI then come to life?
At first, when it came to life is when I was now given a task. When I was doing these environmental programs in school, I got to partner with a company called a tea factory in my area in Bomet called Kapkoros Tea Factory. So now the task was huge, and it needed me to register an organization which I can now run and be able to follow up the activities. It was solid waste management in major towns in Bomet.
Wow.
Yeah, so what we were doing is we were sensitizing the town management team, people who live in town, to separate or segregate waste at the point of generation. So we were making bins, like the bins, waste bins that shows there is plastic, there is other waste, and glass waste. And then we install in towns, and then we now train people or sensitize people on how to use this waste.
So you were
How
going
to use these waste bins, yes. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So I was in charge of that, and now that is what prompted me to register
GTI.
GTI.
How do you use the waste? What are some of the ways that you were, creating awareness around that?
All waste basically, but mostly is organic waste. Organic waste are dumped all over. So we were trying to find a way where people can put a central place where people can put organic waste and plastic waste and glass waste. And part of from that, as in creating green spaces in towns and then planting trees along the avenues, and also now training people on what they can use with the plastic or polythene. Then there was still the polythene papers were not banned yet, so we were training people on what they can use the polythene papers to make a material which they can sell.
Right.
Or glass waste, they collect the glass waste which they can clean them and then use for something else, or plastic bottles which they can clean and use for something else. So we did that in 2017. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
So, and what was the response? And I ask this because a lot of times you'll hear people from, whether it's developing countries or informal settlements, being accused of not caring because they have other things to worry about, whether it is how to feed their families, taking their children to school, or even health, that therefore conservation falls, maybe it's number 15 in their list of things to worry about. Did you find that there was an interest when you were speaking to people and trying to create awareness around how to manage waste?
Okay. First of all, when we approach a community, the first thing that we try to solve is their livelihood creation, because we do not want to stop what they were doing and then go to conservation. People, as you said, conservation is the number 15, and then the top is what they're going to eat at the end of the day. So how we approach as green towns, we first ensure that the livelihood of the people that we're working with is maintained. They are living the way they used to by introducing an alternative sustainable livelihood to them. For instance, for solid waste, when they make the handbags or there is a group of women which used to make handbags using polythene papers, and then they sell. So that is creating a sustainable livelihood for them.
So you were showing them, look, it's not just simply
It's not
place
about
this waste here,
yes,
but
yes,
this is
yes.
how you can
That
use it
this is
to
how you can use it,
improve your
your livelihood,
your
but
livelihood.
it's in a sustainable way. Yes.
Okay.